Camping and like hiking was very much a big part of my childhood, and I spend a lot of time in the national parks and like hiking with my dad. A lot of it comes from that, and also I was working in a park, not in the actual park itself, but I was working in a museum that's in a park in California. And that's kind of where the genesis of the idea for the film came from, because it is an actual thing that, like, if you find a body in the park, then you can't leave it. If you're an employee, you have to, like, kind of secure the area and, like, wait until a coroner can arrive to suss out whether there was, like, foul play involved. So that just kind of fascinated me. I went to a couple different parks, actually, to talk to them about that, and it's way more common than you would like to believe. And there was one that I went to in the middle of California, the heavily redwood forested area. And when I went in to talk to the rangers there, and I was kind of asking them about this, they're like, actually, this just happened like last week. And they started to call in the person who found, and it wasn't someone who was a body at the time. It's like, oh, but they actually died overnight on them. Like, so they found them alive, but they died overnight while they were stuck out there with them. If you even just look it up, the statistics, it happens way, way more than you would like to believe. Yeah, actually, yeah. People getting lost, falling is a big one, and like dehydration. I remember seeing Blair Witch for the first time in a theater, and like it really messed me up because it looks exactly like where I grew up. And to me, that was like much more real than like haunted house movies or something like that, because that was like right what's outside my door when I step outside. And you can get lost in the woods very easily when you're in a pretty vast wilderness area, and if you don't know what you're doing, like things go from like just fine to not fine at all, like very quickly if you're not careful.
Have you ever gotten lost in the woods?
Oh yeah, all the time. It's kind of a coming of age tale to me. It's like a little bit Christopher Pike and a little bit Jack London, kind of a cross section in there. And I keep referencing the book Hatchet, because I remember reading Hatchet when I was, around that age, and books like Julie of the Wolves and stuff like that were these like adventure tales of like young people that were stuck in circumstances out in nature. It's very like Man Against Nature, but really it's coming of age at the same time. And it's like a coming of age horror thriller is what it feels like to me. That's what I was trying to do, also within this kind of weird 70s-esque Western vibe. We wanted it to be very kind of this like vintagey style, but also it's just like there's so many great things you can do just with these epic vistas up there that are giving you so much more production value than like the actual budget can handle. But at the same time, like, you are at the mercy of nature and there is no controlling it. And it's the middle of winter. It was like in the 30s into the 20s every night. So as much as she's like running around and it's like daylight and looks happy and sunny, like it is freezing. This was during like the California wildfires in the end of 2017 when we were shooting in December. So there was these massive windstorms that were happening, and when there's windstorms, they shut down the power so that it's to prevent wildfires in case of like downed power lines. So where we were shooting in Idlewild, which is at like, I want to say like 6,500 feet above sea level, so we're already pretty far up there. We're hiking like half a mile up and down the hills to like locations every day and up into these kind of like treacherous rocks that we were trying to shoot on. And there was a windstorm that they developed a new category of, and the power was out in the entire community for 2 days. And trees are down everywhere, and like firemen are like taking our gear down with us from like the mountain. So we had to deal with a lot of weather and a lot of elements.
So what kind of horror are you hoping to work on next?
Well, one of the stories I have is about a group of girls that may or may not be a coven, and someone who may or may not be joining them or trying to get their friend away from them, which also takes place in the woods. And then, one is a haunted house story, but that has haunted woods around the house. There's a lot of woods involved in all of these things. It's very fascinating to me because I don't feel like we use it enough, and it's right there, and there's so many real life terrifying things, I think, in nature that we're not really seeing as much in horror, and those are the kind of movies that I like, so I would like to make more of them.